Pixar writes lore without explaining anything. The thumbnail shows that one dude from Up that's from the construction site, and I'm pretty sure he's in like a couple films, so I'm actually pretty curious to see what the lore is. I think it has something to do with a bunch of like companies and stuff combined in multiple films or something. I don't know. But yeah, let's lock in.
Pixar has been hiding the same company across multiple movies for years, and most people never noticed.
Offer it. I saw the movie Soul and some other movie. Never seen it. I'm also haven't really seen Cars. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm not gonna lie to you. Haven't seen Cars. Haven't seen Cars. I have seen Cars. I'm an idiot. I'm an idiot. I said that wrong. I've seen Cars 1 and 2. Haven't seen the third one. I haven't. I don't know if it's that good. LARP. Yeah. Okay. Have you never seen Cars? I have seen Cars. I've seen Cars 1 and 2. Haven't seen the third one. It was a little too old, to be honest. I seen all the Cars in the show about Mater. You saw the show about Mater? Motherfucker, that shit was dead ass like maybe 4 years ago. You are low-key maybe a little too old to be watching that. Pretty sure that show came out in like 2020, bro. I'm not gonna lie to you. All right, let's lock in.
A logo on a battery, a sign in the background, a random ad during a race, and so on. Small details that seem meaningless at first, but once you connect them together, something disturbing starts to appear.
What movie is that?
Because somehow, Pixar built an entire corporate apocalypse across their movies without ever sitting the audience down to explain any of it. But how did they do this? How does Pixar write lore without explaining anything? The entire corporate footprint traces back to an early...
What movie is that? Is that E.T.? No, I'm an idiot. No, I'm actually an idiot. I'm actually an idiot. No. I meant, WALL-E. Is that WALL-E?
The entire...
Yeah, mods, remove that comment.
Corporate footprint traces back to an early brainstorming meeting inside the animation studio, where a filmmaker named Andrew Stanton was mapping out a new story about a lonely little cleaning robot.
That is WALL-E. Is WALL-E cleaning robot? I've literally never seen the film, I'm not gonna lie.
Andrew looked at modern life around him and felt a strong wave of concern about the way people live. He watched big businesses grow bigger every single day, creating modern systems that regular people depend on without ever pausing to think about who runs them. During these development talks, a fascinating thought popped into his head. Andrew wondered what would happen if a single mega company grew so massive that it actually became the physical structure of human society itself. The creative team loved this idea, and an artist named Teddy Newton came up with a perfect name for this fictional empire. He called it By and Large. The name became BNL, a short, sharp title that is incredibly easy to repeat.
I don't think I've ever noticed this in a Pixar film. I think that's also because I'm not like looking at like brand names and on the batteries of fucking Buzz Lightyear or some bullshit. So
easy to remember and perfect for a brand that needs to appear absolutely everywhere without drawing too much attention to itself. From that exact point on, the storytelling team decided to build their universe completely backward. You see, instead of creating a normal world and placing a business inside it, the animators built the corporate empire first, asking themselves what kind of planet would completely break down under the weight of their influence. So
did they make this company for the movie WALL-E, and then they just started putting in everything? Well, no. Or did they have the idea to just put it in every Pixar film to have them all connect somehow? Because it says it was in like Toy Story, but Toy Story came out before WALL-E. So I don't know. I'm kind of confused. I don't know. They made it before all the movies and decided to have this little Easter egg. Yeah, that does seem, that's so elaborate though. Like why? Just why?
Corporate history starts incredibly small, beginning with a simple food brand called Buy Yogurt. The business made plenty of money selling sweet treats, allowing them to expand and absorb large industries. A massive suit manufacturing company operating in the American Midwest during the 1960s. This corporate merger created the modern By and Large conglomerate. From that specific moment in history, the brand spreads like wildfire across every single part of human life. And by the year 2057, the corporation manufactures nearly every single object a human being can touch. They control the food supply, public transport, medical systems, banking networks, news media, space travel, and eventually the choices of the government itself. Earth becomes a place shaped by consumption. Over 200 billion people are encouraged into constant consumerism, and waste begins to stack faster than anyone can manage.
That's the plot
planet
of
fills
WALL-E?
with layers of discarded products, buildings swallowed by trash.
So the plot of WALL-E is that this whole company basically destroyed the world into making it just all complete trash, and WALL-E's just picking it up. Is that the plot, or am I missing something? I don't know. So WALL-E's supposed to be futuristic, so doesn't this mean that it's connected to, it shows Cars, Toy Story, Soul. So does this mean that if they're all in this movie, does that mean that Toy Story in the future turns into the WALL-E movie? But maybe that could also mean that Cars, but that doesn't make sense because Cars, but what if, hear me out here, WALL-E takes place before Cars, and because all the humans left on the ship, eventually over time, something just happened to it, and then Cars started. I don't know. Maybe am I onto something or am I not? Like, am I tripping right now or what? The robots could have made the cars, maybe. See, this is actually interesting because this could actually makes that. Well, I don't know if it can make sense. I feel like, yeah, Toy Story could take place before WALL-E, and then WALL-E happens, and then after WALL-E happens, Cars happens because all humans are gone. Holy shit. I think I'm on to something. Nah. And they recycle trash into cars, cleaning it up. Oh. Nah. Let's just keep watching. I think I'm like actually onto something though.
Came afterwards. You see, when WALL-E finally begins, we meet a robot who is surrounded by the leftovers of that system. Broken cities carry B&L signs like fossils. Superstores still glow faintly with B&L ads, and the banks and gas stations are also owned by this same company. Even WALL-E himself carries a B&L logo on his body, which makes him part of the same system that created the wasteland he is programmed to clean. As WALL-E moves through abandoned streets, holographic ads continue to activate. They talk about space cruises, automated comfort, and a life free from effort.
Too much garbage in your face? There's plenty of space out in space.
One ad introduces the axiom as a floating paradise with no walking required, no waiting, and no struggle. The voice behind the ads stays cheerful even while the ground beneath them is covered in garbage. That contrast becomes a repeating pattern. The brand language stays polished while the environment decays. Inside WALL-E's small truck home, a B&L sponge cake sits like a preserved artifact from another time. It is simple, processed, and untouched by the collapse outside.
The Twinkie. It's a Twinkie, bro.
That small object carries the same branding as the
Shit lasts
massive
for fucking
systems that
forever.
reshaped Earth. When Eve arrives on Earth, she scans through these spaces, searching for signs of life. The world behaves like it still remembers its old consumer rhythm, even without people to continue it. Later, when WALL-E boards the recon ship and leaves Earth, the scale of B&L lore expands again. Satellites carrying the company logo orbit the planet, meaning that even space does not escape its presence. Then, we see the axiom floating beyond Earth, as a moving extension of the same system that once controlled everything below. On the ship itself,
Yeah, this is making me want to watch WALL-E. It's like one of the only like big Pixar films I haven't seen that came out around like the time that would have been acceptable for me to watch Pixar films. I mean, shit.
human life continues under B&L design. Hover chairs guide people like conveyor belts. Screens float in front of faces. Food and movement require no effort, and conversations happen through digital layers instead of direct contact. Everything follows a structure built long before the passengers were born. The company still exists through systems, ads, and machines, but no one is steering it anymore. The structure continues on its own, holding together a world that already ended on Earth. This is where Pixar's method becomes clear. B&L arrives in fragments. A logo here, a billboard there, a product on a shelf, or a system running in the background. Each piece adds another layer of history without ever stopping the story.
All right, dipshit. I understand the plot of WALL-E now. How is this connected to the other films? This is all I want to know, because now I'm just sitting here just learning the plot of WALL-E for 10 fucking minutes straight, bro. Like, what?
To describe it. This is how we're introduced to the lore of B&L. And right here, you might be thinking, if the lore is already out there right now, why put B&L in other movies that come after WALL-E? Well, this is where it gets interesting. the world begins to reveal something strange when the B&L keeps showing up in places where it should not belong. It starts small, almost easy to miss, but once it appears more than once, a pattern begins to form. One of the earliest places this presence becomes noticeable sits inside the world of cars. In Rescue Squad Mater, released just a few months after WALL-E, Lightning McQueen finds himself inside a hospital setup after a fire accident. The environment around him carries medical stuff as far as medical stuff goes for cars. But as McQueen is pushed into the theater, we see small B&L logos stamped on auxiliary items just by the door.
Paging Dr. Mater. Dr. Mater to the
The hospital setting becomes a stage where even emergency care connects back to a larger corporate presence, as if every service in this world traces back to the same source. That idea becomes even clearer in Tokyo Mater, where Mater finds himself in a neon-filled city packed with advertisements and fast-moving energy. Among the bright signs and crowded streets, one detail stands out in the background: a Stop and Shop ad by By and Large.
Well, here you go.
The city feels alive with commerce, every corner filled with products and offers, and B&L sits among them like part of the city's structure. It blends into the advertising noise, shaping the environment without calling attention to itself, which makes its presence feel natural in a place driven by constant consumption. The pattern grows stronger in Toy Story 3, where the story shifts to Andy's childhood toys facing an uncertain future. During a moment where Buzz...
Yo, honestly, I low-key think Toy Story 3 might be the best Toy Story. What is the best Toy Story? I would subjectively say Toy Story 3. It has so many emotions and so many feelings in the film. It's so good. And then the second one, and I honestly like the first one the least. I don't know if that's an L take. I feel like that's a decent take, but I don't know.
Buzz Lightyear is reset into his factory mode, his back panel opens and reveals his power source. Printed on the batteries is the label B&L Alkaline.
Go! Slide the switch.
The detail sits inside a character who represents imagination, loyalty, and childhood memory. Yet even he runs on energy tied to the same corporate name. The toy world, which once felt separate from large systems, now carries the same mark at its core. The same detail appears again in the Toy Story video game, connected to Bonnie's house, where Buzz's batteries still carry the same branding, reinforcing the idea that this presence stretches beyond a single scene or format. Even in Pixar documentaries, the name appears in production spaces. In A Day in the Life of John Lasseter, a casual look into the animation department shows a whiteboard with B&L written on it. The setting here is not part of a fictional world, but a behind-the-scenes creative space. The appearance of the name in this context suggests it is a shared idea within the studio, moving between development and storytelling and finding its way into different projects over time.
I mean, that is pretty cool that they're just finding an elaborate way to put this company in all their films. But would this subjectively say that all the films are connected? Yes, but also no. I feel like it's just, I don't know. I don't know. Because it's like they're kind of just doing it just to do it. But at the same time, it's like, it does make them all connected. So I don't know. I have no idea. I basically just said a whole lot of nothing, right?
That same subtle repetition continues in Small Fry, where Buzz Lightyear gets replaced with a miniature version of himself after a fast food mix-up. Inside the environment of the play area and vending machines, B&L appears again as B&L Burst on a machine in the background. The scene moves quickly, and the scene can be easily missed, but the branding remains steady in the corner of the world, placed where children would interact with everyday items. A darker tone appears in Toy Story of Terror, where the characters find themselves trapped in a roadside motel. As Woody and the others explore the Sleepwell Motel, a B&L logo appears in the window of the motel door. The environment already carries tension, with strange noises and disappearing toys, and the presence of B&L adds another layer to the setting. Also, Cars 3, Toy Story 4, Elio, and Lego The Incredibles all have moments where B&L slipped into one of the scenes in a subtle way.
Holy shit, I never saw. Well, I actually did see Toy Story 4 in theaters. 2019, I was 9. Did you hear that thunder? I don't know if you did. Oh my God. That was, yeah. Well, no, I saw it because my cousin wanted to see it. My cousin was like 6, so he wanted to go see it. So we saw it. It was all right.
Hey, when all of these appearances come together, a clear pattern begins to form. B&L appears through objects, backgrounds, and small environmental details. It moves through hospitals, cities, toys, racetracks, bedrooms, and even production spaces. Each appearance carries a small piece of information, but together they build a larger sense of history. The important part lies in how these moments connect without explanation. No character pauses to describe the company. No scene turns into a history lesson. Instead, the audience gathers information the same way someone might notice.
It's more so like if you're not paying attention, you're just not going to notice. You know what I mean? It's like they're not just blatantly telling you. It's not like the second screen theory. Like they're showing glimpses of it. That's just it. You know what I mean? But I mean, it's supposed to be an Easter egg. So I mean, no shit. They're not just being blatantly like, oh, look. Like,
repeated symbols on old buildings or in forgotten objects. Each detail adds another layer, and over time, those layers form a larger picture of influence stretching across different worlds. This approach creates a sense of depth that grows naturally. The presence of BNL becomes a thread running through environments rather than a story being told directly. That thread links objects together across films, building the idea of a shared history without ever needing to stop and define it. But the question still remains, why go through all that hassle when WALL-E already told us what BNL was all about? The answer is something many might never have thought of, but when you hear it, it starts to make sense. At the end of the day, what began this company known as BNL is what ends it. That idea becomes way more interesting once you realize WALL-E already showed us the ending first. The movie came out in 2008, but its story takes place in the year 2805. Pixar dropped us into the aftermath when Earth had become a dead planet, buried under towers of garbage. Humans floated through space inside automated chairs, while machines handled every task for them. By and large, controlled food, travel, shopping, communication.
So it's 100% Toy Story took place before this, but again, I still think Cars would have taken place after this. And then they showed the movie Souls and all that other stuff. I feel like that would have also taken place definitely, probably within the same timeline as Toy Story, like one of them, 100%.
And eventually even the government itself. By the time WALL-E begins rolling through those empty streets, the damage had already happened centuries earlier. But Pixar wanted to show us how this corruption happened by BNL through other movies. At first, it looked like they created a harmless Easter egg for fans. A logo here, a battery there, and a racetrack sponsorship somewhere else. However, once all those appearances are connected together, another picture starts forming. WALL-E becomes the final warning at the end of it. So every movie afterward became a tiny piece of history leading toward that future in reverse.
Ours had to have taken place afterwards. Unless somewhere in, well, no, because in Cars universe, there is no humans. So it doesn't make any sense. It literally makes absolutely no sense how it would take place before WALL-E, because in WALL-E, there are humans. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't. It makes sense if it took place after and somehow all the trash has disappeared. That could make somewhat sense in how, like, the robots made cars.
And the clever part is how natural it all looks. Nobody inside those movies stops to question the logos because corporations already exist everywhere in real life too. People grow used to seeing the same names on food, phones, sports arenas, toys, apps, and television. Pixar understands that dynamic, so instead of screaming the message directly at the audience, they let the audience slowly notice the pattern themselves. That is where Pixar becomes dangerous in the best possible way. They trust viewers enough to connect the dots. The audience slowly realizes BNL keeps getting larger with every appearance. First construction, then batteries and entertainment, food,
Was it in Up?
and highways buried under packaging. By the year 2105, BNL was the government itself. The CEO, Shelby Forthright, sits at the top, and the board approves large decisions like Operation Cleanup. BNL builds the Axiom and a fleet of starliners. Humans leave Earth for what was described as a short 5-year cruise, while robots handle the cleanup. But the plan doesn't work, and Earth is labeled too toxic for life. So, Directive A113 locks humanity into space, and the cleanup becomes permanent. BNL systems keep running even after leadership disappears, and the company slowly becomes a memory powered by machines. But why is all of this necessary? Well, because it is the foundation Pixar places under WALL-E, and it is necessary both for the movie and every other movie that in consumer products, and finally, government control in WALL-E. And by the time humanity notices how large the company has become, the world already sits under mountains of trash while giant robots clean up the remains. Pixar could have explained this entire timeline through narration. They could have forced a scientist character into the story to explain the dangers of consumerism and corporate expansion. But they almost never choose that route because they love visual storytelling too much. The studio built its reputation on showing ideas through actions, objects, expressions, and silence instead of endless explanation. And once you notice that storytelling style, you start seeing it everywhere across their movies. Take Up from 2009. Carl and Ellie's
Great fucking film. This film literally is just fucking amazing. Like there's like so much to take away from that film too. I would say like, oh my god, bro. Like I'm like LARPing up, bro. I saw this shit when I was like 3, but like I would genuinely have the take that the beginning of the film was not as sad and as emotionally impactful as another part of the film where he does get the house on top of the wherever it like falls or wherever they wanted to go. I forgot what the name of it was, but he gets the house there and he's looking through this book, this scrapbook that she had of things I'm going to do. It's like it's the book of her life. I mean, because she's dead, and he's looking through it, and he gets to the part where it says things I'm going to do, and he hesitates because in his head he's like, she never got to come here and experience this. Is what she wanted to do. She never got to do this. She died never being able to come here, and that's why he brought the house there in the first place for her. And he's like, oh, and then he scrolls, he flips over the page to see if there's anything there, and it's their entire life, all the pictures that they had, their entire life together, and at the end of it, it says, thanks for the adventure. Now go find your next one, or something along the lines of that. And it's like symbolizing that, hey, I didn't get to come here, which was my dream to come here, and the adventure that I wanted to do in my life. But being with you was as good as an adventure that I wanted to do, which kind of like, I might be wording this wrong, but it's kind of like telling you basically, hey, people want to be millionaires. People want to be, famous content creators. People want to be, just popular or the greatest of all time at basketball or football. And it's like, they have these dreams that they want to achieve and the things they want to do with their life. And I think, she never got to come here and experience, that place that she wanted to go to, that Falls place. But at the end of the day, she got to experience life with him, like a marriage and love. And it was as good as coming there to her. Like it was a great adventure to her. So I'm wording this horribly, but basically it's like, you don't have to achieve your dreams to live a meaningful life is what I would take away from, you might not make $1 million. You might not be a billionaire. You probably won't, make it in the NFL or whatever. But I mean, I feel like as long as you live your life and you love what you're doing and you die feeling fulfilled with what you have done, that's what matters more than succeeding at what you want to do. I feel like I'm wording that horribly wrong, but you see what I'm trying to say here? I don't know.
marriage
But it's a great film at the end of the day.
montage lasts only a few minutes, yet somehow it tells an entire lifetime story stronger than many full movies manage in 2 hours. Pixar barely uses dialogue during the sequence. Instead, the audience watches Carl and Ellie paint their mailbox together, fix up their house, save coins for their Paradise Falls trip, then lose those savings repeatedly to life emergencies. One moment shows them dancing inside their tiny living room after fixing up the house. Another shows Ellie sitting sadly inside the hospital after learning they could never have children. Later, Carl helps Ellie walk uphill as they grow older together. Then eventually, Carl sits alone in church holding a balloon. Pixar never pauses the montage so Carl can explain how much Ellie means to him. The audience already understands it completely. That same storytelling philosophy powers the BNL timeline as well. Pixar trusts viewers to observe instead of simply listening. Toy Story 3 gives another perfect example of showing without telling during Andy's goodbye scene. Andy arrives at Bonnie's house planning to give away the toys he grew up with. Then something beautiful happens. Instead of dropping the toys off quickly, Andy kneels down and starts playing with them one final time.
Dr. Porkchop's attacking the haunted bakery!
Pew, pew, pew. The ghosts are getting away! Woody, stop them!
The audience understands exactly what that moment means. Childhood is ending, and a new child is receiving the same happiness Andy carried for years. Pixar never forces Andy into a big speech about growing up because the actions already carry the emotion perfectly. Ratatouille works the same way through.
Yeah, I do feel like Toy Story 3, it should have just ended on that one. It was a great note to end it, but obviously, like, as I'm recording this, I think the fifth one came out, like, last month or something. It's just like, they're money hungry, bro. They're just money hungry. I'm just gonna be straight up honest with you.
Anton Ego. For most of the movie, Ego looks terrifying. His face stays cold and sharp, and every worker inside the restaurant panics when he arrives. Then Remy's Ratatouille reaches his table. Ego takes one bite, and suddenly
Yeah, he
the
starts
movie
thinking.
flashes back to his childhood kitchen. Back in the restaurant, Ego drops his pen, and that move tells the audience everything. The harsh critic who spent years tearing chefs apart suddenly reconnects with childhood memories through a simple dish. Again, Pixar lets visual storytelling carry the meaning naturally. And honestly, that exact approach explains why the B&L lore works so well across Pixar's movies. Every single one of these examples proves that the animation studio values the power of sight over sound.
It really is impressive, though, that they're just having this lore in there without even saying anything about it. And it's just like, if you notice it, you notice it. Like, that is pretty cool, though.
They could say the lore out loud, but the visual puzzle is much more exciting for the audience to solve. When we apply this exact same filmmaking rule to the corporate symbols hidden across the movies, the timeline becomes clear. The mega company starts by taking over the land. Then they take over the stores, and eventually they take over the world. Consumerism slowly replaces the regular government because the citizens keep buying the products without looking at the warning signs in the background. By the time the future arrives, the planet is completely silent, empty, and waiting for the machines to clean up the corporate mess. But there is another character hiding something even more surprising than a logo in the background. Lord Farquaad turns out to be a perfect case study in controlled chaos and audience manipulation.
That would be a good video. Make sure to like this, just subscribe to this dude. And yeah, I mean, they have so many good films. And like, I'm just thinking about how it's all connected and somehow, literally just because they put that brand there. So it could just be they're not connected and it's just literally just there just to be there as an Easter egg. But at the same time, it's like, because it's technically there, it technically kind of makes everything connected. You know what I mean? But it's like, kind of like it doesn't, but it's like, we can just pretend it is. So, I mean, yeah, that's it. Like, I'm just yapping just to yap at this point for the outro. But yeah, that's pretty much it.